Hello and welcome to another thrilling episode of CX in the Wild. Today, we are beyond excited to introduce a guest who is not just a leader, but a global pioneer in the world of customer experience. He's the CEO of the International Customer Experience Institute, also known as ICXI, an organization at the forefront of defining and shaping global CX standards. With a rich tapestry of experience spanning over 20 years across continents and industries, from telecom to banking, from insurance to retail, he's the mastermind behind some of the most groundbreaking CX strategies worldwide. His journey has led him to transformative initiatives, setting new benchmarks in customer care, sales, and service. At ICXI, he's not just leading the charge, he's writing the playbook for international CX standards. His vision and expertise are helping shape how businesses around the world engage with and delight their customers, setting a gold standard in customer experience. He's a strategist, a visionary, and an innovator whose work is not only pioneering but also instrumental in driving the future of customer experience at a global scale. So buckle up and get ready to be inspired by a luminary who's not just leading the conversation in CX, but is actively transforming it. Let's welcome the CEO of ICXI, the man who's at the very heart of the new standards of global customer experience, Ladislau Batalha. Batalha.
That's it.
Ladislau Batalha. You would think, Ladislau, that because my name is Wakabayashi, I
Yeah,
would
yeah.
be better with these names. And it's funny because if I was in America, I'd be introducing people like John Smith or Jane Reynolds. But I'm always in these international countries where I don't speak the language or have the dialect. It's just hilarious. Welcome, Ladislau. How are you today, sir?
Oh, thank you so much. Hello, Dennis, and thank you so much for inviting me. I feel very, very honored to join you in this podcast. You are, for us in the industry, reference. You are the voice of CX. So to be part of any initiative or to be invited individually or from the institute for any initiative that comes from your side for us is a big moment of joy, happiness, and also we are very honored because we have opportunity to share with our peers and across the world what we are doing. And something that makes our community different is this willingness that we have always to share. So we don't hide things. We are always trying to put things on the table for the others, also to get inspired and take some of what we do to to improve their life and their customers' life, as well as we always take also something back. So it's always a trade, a very open trade, and with no second intentions, because we are always willing to help and to improve people's life. So thank you so much for inviting us, and I'm very pleased to be here with you. And by the way, Dennis, I have the same challenges with names. Now I'm based in Dubai. Before I was based in Brazil. I'm Portuguese, so every time I move from one geography to the others, so I have a lot of difficulties with the names because names are very different. For example, in Dubai, you have all the nationalities in the world. They live and work there. So is all the names are very possible. So that's good. That shows how different we are, and how. But at the end of the day, we all live together, and we all have a way to align ourselves and to find nice moments and good deals. So very excited. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. And I will say, since you brought it up, I had a chance to hang out with you for a while in Dubai recently, and you definitely still get the names better. So I just when I grow up, I want to be you. All right, Ladislav, let's dive into, just for the audience's sake, a little bit before we talk about the importance of the work you're doing to standardize customer experience practices and skill sets around the world. I want to share with the audience a little bit more about you. So, can you tell us a little bit about your journey in the CX field and what led you to this current role?
Okay, that's a very good point because Dennis, my background from 25 or 20 years ago is was about customer care. I was always a professional in customer care. uh, the roles that was possible as a consultant, as as a vice president, a chairman from BPOs or telecoms. So I always run all my life. I was always focused on delivering everything related with care, shops, contact centers, all this stuff. So it was one part of the journey, but we were very focused on this delivering the best experience to the customers in that specific point. What happened is in the last 5 years, uh, companies they started being more aware and more focused in the journey itself instead of everyone taking care of his own point of the journey. So with these holistic views of the journey that matters for what helps the company if you have a very good marketing, but then you have a not good sales, or if you have a very good sales but you don't have a good legal. So what you are doing, you are delivering one specific moment that is good, is a value moment for the customer perspective, but any all the other moments maybe they are not that good. So overall the experience of the customer will be impacted, and companies sometimes they are not even aware why. So since we started with this uh, worldwide with this focus on the experience and the journeys, mapping the journeys and understanding what is the life cycle of a customer, the contact center and the customer care became a very important part of it, with a different role. Before was just take care of these, take please guys take care of these customers, take care of these complaints, or just make your our customers feel wow. Now is uh, please help us to improve the experience. Please help us to bring insights to the whole journey. So in that moment, I started expanding my experience from customer care to customer experience. And then when I was driving myself going to this journey, and because then we will talk about it for sure in this talk later on, what is customer experience, but and how people have different uh, definitions and different understandings of the experience itself or the customer experience itself. It ended up that the institute invited me to take the lead of the institute, bringing this standardization and developing the institute with a global footprint. So because it was the institute that was based in UK and Middle East, working very globally but from a local perspective. And my challenge is to make more accessible and make more understandable and helping more companies to understand the benefits of standardizing and to have a common ground and sharing benchmarks and all that stuff. So my experience comes from customer care, but in a certain point in time, it moved all the way to the experience itself. So
You,
that's what
you
I've
know,
been doing.
what I'll say there is you're you have a diverse history personally in different verticals, but also your international diversity in your career, I really think puts you in a great vantage point for the entire world to see these opportunities for standards, for quality. But I also think that also makes you have a great perspective for compliance around the world. So I'm really excited to hear more about that. Let's just dive right in there. can you can you talk to me about, I guess talk to the audience as well about the significance of having global standards and customer experience? How do the standards benefit both the businesses and the consumer?
Okay, so that's a very good point, Dennis, because what happened is if you go to any audience or a room with 100 people that they are experts in CX, and you ask to each one of them a definition of CX, you get 100 different definitions. Because what happened is companies and organizations usually they get very biased for their specific moment or their specific needs. So what happened is if you go to company A, maybe they are more focused in the digital transformation. So for them, CX is about IT, is about process mapping and transforming. But they don't care much about, for example, customer care or the sales or the legal or the business continuity. Then you move to another company that is more focused on these points because they have a very solid IT and a very solid technology, but they don't have a good or outstanding customer care. So what happens is sometimes companies they focus their CX in a specific part of the experience or a vertical in the company. And CX is very fluffy, is very sexy, but at the end of the day, CX is about the all points of the experience, and everybody in the organization. If you have an organization or a company and you deliver something to your customer, everybody in the organization has a moment that he is contributing to that experience. So you cannot leave anyone behind. So what we have and what we did a standard based on the best practices and a lot of research from universities in UK that puts together everything that matters in CX. So it's a framework that then becomes a standard in the sense that then you have an external, and I will explain it later, you have an external certification body that comes and checks. It's not the institute, it's not you or the guy in the company. We provide the standard that is which are the 300, 400 points that a company should be compliant and should be aware of and implement and cover to deliver outstanding customer experience, a worldwide benchmark. And then we have this standard. And then what happens in with companies, they go and they check themselves, they assess themselves. We even have an online assessment. When they assess themselves against the standard, they get a lot of surprises because then they find out that for any reason internally they were more focused in only two or three pillars of the experience, but they were not remembering, for example, the importance of the employee experience. You cannot deliver a good outstanding customer experience if your people they are not involved, they are not trained, they are not focused in what they are delivering to the customers, if you don't give them reward and recognition programs, if you don't appraise them, if you don't give them feedback, if you don't evaluate them 360 degrees, all of these impacts the experience. And then companies, when they go through the standard, they realize that there are some points that they are missing. So the importance of the standardization is giving everyone in the world the same framework for them to assess themselves against the benchmark. So, and that's what happens then is it is really, really nice is customers are the same everywhere. Sometimes the customer needs is the same. Customers just want to get things solved and be happy with what they get. So it's very easy. And companies usually they make it very complicated. But at the end, even either if someone is in Mongolia, in Japan, in Portugal, UAE, or in US, the way you map the journey, the way what is important for the customer for outstanding experience is the same. So sometimes people go, it's not possible to get a standard because cultures are different. Okay, you have to understand the cultures. You have to understand how to talk and how to help these organizations. But the foundations of the standard they are the same. So at the end of the day, worldwide, we can all of us, we can provide the outstanding customer experience from the same framework and from the same basis.
You said quite a lot there. One of the things that really strikes me about what you said is the the checklist or the checkpoints or the standards, the evaluation, being able to evaluate these complex systems for companies in a consistent way, it not just helps the company that does the certification or takes the assessment, it puts them in, gives them perspective worldwide. And I think in that way, it is inclusive of great CX thinking from all over the world, applied to the human truth that customers want to be the heroes of their own stories. And when we can put our tools and technologies and process into place to deliver happiness for a customer, it's a good thing, but so many people do it differently. So many people have one edge or another. I see it all over the world. One country or market is more advanced than another. And what I like is you sort of bring the best of all countries together to make the most smiles possible. And I love that about your work. Let's talk about these standards though, because the technology landscape, the government landscape, the compliance landscape, all these things are changing all the time. How do you ensure that your standards stay up to date and effective for everyone?
Yeah, that's a very good point. Standards. One of the big challenges of the standards or of these, sometimes you have some indexes or some programs that what happen is they are still the same that they were like 10 years ago. They don't update themselves, and we live in a world and an industry that things are changing all the time. For example, we had a standard that we launched in 2008, that was the service excellence standard. Then the service excellence evolved to customer experience because it becomes much wider. So we had to update our concepts to the experience. And we launched in 2019 the customer experience standard. Then, even because of the fintechs and the more digital companies, that then the pandemic even give them a nudge, and everybody started being more digital, we had to launch, because it was the requested by companies all over the world, a standard focusing only in the digital experience, because there are a lot of companies that they don't even have physical touch points. They are completely digital. They have all their mindset and focus in digital. So that makes us all the time, from the feedback from the implementations, we do a lot of research to check what, for example, in the digital standard, the last version, when before going to market, we found out a lot of stuff about metaverse. So metaverse became, on that time, was a very important topic. We accommodate the metaverse in the digital standard. This is to say that from the feedback from the customers, feedback from the companies, and the trends globally, at least every 2 years, we have to update the standard. For example, the customer experience standard, the 2019, had some changes, but now will be completely updated to the customer experience standard 2024. So we are launching 2 months from now the new version of the customer experience standard, because there are a lot of things changing, and most of them, they come. Of course, we have to check if they are relevant, if they are global. Sometimes it's just a local trend, but usually in CX, the trends, they are global because the needs are the same. So maybe you are not still aware of that in your local market, but sooner or later, even because of the suppliers, even because of the trends, even because of the knowledge spreads and is shared very fast, things sooner or later will become global. So we check if the trend is global, if there is a need that the companies are facing, and we update the standard. But that's a good point, Dennis, because I find out sometimes some companies or some even organizations that they have standards or indexes, or that they come to us and say, look, can you help us to update these? Because our last version was 20 years ago. Like, happens a lot in contact centers and all that stuff. So we have the same KPIs, and we have, man, now you have a lot of new business trends that will bring you new KPIs, that will bring you new approaches, that will bring you new journeys. So you have to update yourself, otherwise you are measuring the wrong things and giving the companies the wrong feedback. Sometimes
It's
companies, they think that they are very well, but they are measuring with the wrong tools or the wrong numbers, and that's a problem.
So I love that you're talking about reorientation of KPIs that matter in the current trending landscape. And I really think that in 2024, as we think about emerging CX trends as a whole, understanding the right KPIs for a business, for a culture, for a vertical, for a geography, and standardizing practices such that they're accessible around the world for practitioners, that really impacts the education of the CX person who is performing these roles within an organization. I know you're doing some work around curriculums and educating people. You're just such a pioneer across the board: standards, certifications, education. Can you talk a little bit about the educational component, the
Yeah.
foray you're making there worldwide?
Okay. So we are launching also in February. So and let me tell you, Dennis, you are also very inspiring for us regarding this, because you are also uh, in the last in the last couple of months, and some of the most relevant moments I had to discuss about the education in CX was with you, because you understand very well what is the importance of this. Education is not giving people certificates, or is not giving people a stamp or a badge to use in the LinkedIn profile. Education is further more than that. So we as an institute, we are focused, our standards, they are for companies. So when we have a standard, is about, we are certifying the company. But the company, what we find out is, usually when we work in the companies to do the implementations, it comes, the company in CX, everybody has to be involved. So you have to have stakeholders and people that represent all the departments. And at the end of the day, we train these people and we help them to understand the standard itself and the importance of CX and the importance of all of them to be on the same page and to work together. Then we start finding out that everywhere in the world, these people, they are amazing. People that are inside the organization. There is one guy in legal, there is another guy in CX, there is another guy in the
Yeah.
strategy, another one in BCP or in IT or in marketing. All these guys, they are amazing, but they are always eager to understand more. And when we start implementations, they are bringing a lot of stuff and they are asking a lot of stuff and asking us how they can learn more, how they can get more information, how they can know more about CX. Because for the first time, they are getting out of their comfort zone of their department and they are going to a wider view of the CX that usually comes from the strategy or from the board. The guy that works in the customer care head, or the VP for customer care, it doesn't have the full vision of the CX. So that took us to what you are mentioning. That is, we have also a mandate, and we have also an obligation from our side as an institute to bring something that helps people to also to improve their skills and to be more complete in what refers to education related to the experience. So we started with some universities around the globe, mainly one university in UK, to develop a program for a MSc that will be launched next month. That is a customer experience masters that will be open to anyone in the world that can do it, like online plus physical, only online. It will be very flexible. People will get the credits. They will submit their thesis. At the end, they get They get a diploma from the university. And they even can do that if they want a PhD. But they can do that also a summer school, or they can do their master class. So what we are doing, we are identifying which are the people and who are the people around the world that are the you shouldn't go and develop things from the scratch when you have a lot of already very good people doing it. So we are also identifying we are the players around the world that they bring a lot of knowledge, and they share knowledge. Most of them even for free. They share knowledge across their LinkedIn's, across their programs, or they deliver some very interesting programs. So we are combining all of this to give people a platform and a way for people to pick what they need. We believe also that people have different needs. Why should you treat everyone as having the same need? Like, come, pay, and get a stamp, and get this online course, and you are a CX expert. We are very. That's not even. I think that's not even honest. What is honest is to give people the opportunity to pick what they need to improve whatever they want to, because people, they are in different stages, they are professionals from different realities. So people these days, they should learn on their own pace, and they should learn and educate according to their needs, not according what you think that they are their needs, and you are pushing them to a specific program. So
Well,
so that's what we are trying to do.
one of the things that really strikes me about what you're saying in your approach is, on one hand, you're talking about standardization and certification, which is a measurement of proficiency at the industry of customer experience. But I love that the way that you're getting there is through a wide range of flexible education, learning, resource resources that really create a fertile foundation for anyone who is currently in the mainstream of CX. Or what I really like is that students, young people, can take advantage of everything we've been doing in the last 10 years around customer experience and turn that into a degree that they can take forward to help continue the standardization and the sharing of customer experience business practices around the world in a way that has a clarity. You know what I think? We've all been pioneering here for many years, and we've honestly had to solve a lot of things as the opportunities emerged. I think about when e-commerce emerged. You know, there was before e-commerce and after e-commerce. We all had to adapt to that. But wouldn't it have been nice if we all had a foundation in customer experience before
Right,
those big epic
right.
shifts happened? So what you're doing is so instrumental for the next 50 years of CX. You're a milestone in the maturity of customer experience worldwide. And you know, I just want to take a minute to say the only reason I believe that is I travel around the world. I speak to leaders from CX outposts everywhere, and I admire them all. And each market has something beautiful about it. But I truly believe that it's time for a unified standard around the world. I think your expertise from around the industry and your geography, but this might be an unpopular opinion, but I'm just going to say it. It having Dubai as a focal point for standardization globally. There's so much innovation happening in Dubai. It is a melting pot for the entire world. And it is a great reservoir for all of this different thinking. As you mentioned, business leaders come in and out of Dubai, they share their wisdom, and to capture it and use that as a fulcrum for standardization while you have sort of this this educational and global perspective from the UK, you're really at a very nice place to set these standards. Can you talk to me about, have you seen anywhere that your standards, can you give us a little bit of a case study? I can talk about why I think the environment is great, but you're actually doing this. Do you have an example of where these your standards have made a difference in business and industry?
Okay. So, for start, there is, like you are mentioning, Dubai or the Emirates, even more than Dubai, the United Arab Emirates, is where we have the most outstanding results, because the whole country, starting from the government, brings the importance of CX. You have CX in the governmental level. So the government has a program that is aligned with our standard, that they check they assess the citizen experience. They call happiness centers. All the government, they don't call call centers or shops or branches. They call happiness centers,
So
and
I
they
want to
measure.
I want to
Yeah,
jump in there. Dubai actually has a happiness metric,
right.
happiness centers. Happiness is a fundamental business lever in Dubai. So that's just fascinating. Go ahead. I
So,
just find that
and
amazing.
that's driven by the government. So that means that any ministry or any public entity or any governmental entity, they are the first to want to get a standardization. They want to be sure that they are doing the right stuff. So we have, for example, last month, with now a new standard, the digital. One company that for me is for us is a big. We are very proud of that. Is the authority that that regulates the digital in Dubai. There is these authorities all over every country. As a telecom and digital authority, a regulator, they asked to be certified with our digital standard. They said, look, we believe that we ourselves, that we are the regulator, we should be the first one to be adherent to the best practices in the world. Though, of course, they had a very high punctuation at the end. They just reached the top of the scale, but they submitted themselves to the exercise. They involved all their people. We trained the people. They did a lot of research. They improved their processes. They did a lot of work for 6 months to be sure that they were a top company related with digital customer experience. And they're talking about a governmental entity that is the regulator. So they had no need for that, but they are. That's for us is a wow. How is this possible? That's the mood of the Emirates. So you have the private companies, but also the governmental. But then
And
anyway, yeah,
and the personal accountability, the accountability for a company to assess themselves against a global standard. To your point, your standard is adhered to or prescribed to by government entities. But I just wanted to jump in on this podcast because you touched on it earlier. You're always good natured, but I will say so many people in customer experience profess to be customer experience experts. And I think we all are an empathetic group and we try to welcome everyone. But there is a lot of discussion about how many substandard or not quite mature practitioners are actually in the communities and in the conversation. So I think that for those CXers who want to validate that they are a practitioner or they are an a person who's on their journey to become more educated, to participate in a standard so that we can at least measure ourselves and each other against something common is so important for all of
right.
us.
But
That was a little rant there.
yeah, Dennis. But even to your point, we have a lot of of course, we did. We have a global footprint. We did assessments in 56 countries, 200 certifications, and more than 4,000 assessments. So all over the world. So But for example, uh, it fills me of joy. For example, we have a partner in Mongolia, and you have an idea that Mongolia, and this is a country very with a very strong culture, but at the same time very few people with a very low density, populational density, and they are there in middle of Asia. Is more tourism, and then you go there, it's popping up CX, and you see like the bank, the largest bank in Mongolia with like 2,000 branches. They say, look, we want to be aligned with the best practice in the world. We don't feel that we are the best because, or we are not, or we are, or we are not. We don't know. But what we know is that we are global. Whatever you do anywhere in the world, we want to do the same. So we want to have the certification. We want to go through the standards. So they were 1 year making changes and continuously improving. And then in last 2 months ago, they got the certification with a very good ranking score because they committed with that. I went there myself. I had the board of the bank in all the meetings, and the guys teach us, show us what we should do and what. So they were keen to learn, but their practice was already very good. I even brought some of their best practices to share with other companies and banks around the world, because these guys in Mongolia, there are some points that they rock a lot, much more than Western countries.
So
So this is the good of all of these. There are good people and good practices all over the world.
I
And
want to
sometimes
just
they are very close in our experience and close in our world. The world is bigger than us. You know?
So yes, I hear a lot of conversation. You're outside of the US right now, but in the US, there is a ton of conversation about how CX isn't working, and there's it you see these things all the time on social media. They trend up and they trend down. So people are starting to like have negative conversations in the US about CX. And it surprises me because if these people looked anywhere else in the world, Mongolia, Dubai, I Africa, I spent a lot of time in Africa. I was astounded to see the proliferation, the best practices, the innovation in Africa around CX. The fact is, to your point, the world is a large place, and CX is accelerating in all of these places that previously were unknown. Mongolia, you bring up, is a great example. And you being able to bring the ideas and the thinking from around the world, all of the people and businesses participating in your standards, is truly the next frontier for countries like the US to get over the hump. I really truly believe if people got involved and with your standardization and your certifications in the US, their eyes would be opened to the wonderful universe of CX that is happening everywhere else on the planet. But I'm also an optimistic guy too.
But Dennis, to your point is when I go around the world, that's why it's important. We are an institute, and we try to our standards to be solid and rocket solid and bulletproof. But then what makes things happen is we have a network of local partners that they are spread around the world in the countries that bring us the taste of the country. For example, if you go to Brazil, our local partner uses the same standard. He uses the same concept. He brings the CX to another level with our standards. But then he tells us, look, for example, in Brazil, the market, all the companies that are used to pay in installments. You cannot charge one time for a certification. You have to pay in 12 times. So I was not even aware of that. So that means that there was a block from companies in Brazil, even online, to get our standard and to do the certification because I was a one pay stop. You were paying for downloading the standard and for a link for the assessment. And the local partner told us, look, let us do it in installments, because in Brazil is a cultural, organizational, even due to the economics, the inflation and all that stuff. Companies, they always commit to pay in installments, so you will never. So I was not even aware, you see. So that's the beauty of adapting and adjusting. And then they said, look, and in our case we want to have more education for people, because, and then they started also a lot of initiatives in education that then we are going to share with another countries, with another partners, to do in another place, like master classes and all that stuff. That's the beauty of the local. Is if you are in an international environment and you have the standard gives you the foundations, and you know that wherever you go, that standard always brings you to the reality and helps you to understand where you are standing. But at the same time, to be international allows you to share experiences and to adapt to your local reality. So if something is very American, you should prepare your offer and you should prepare your modus operandi to the American way of doing it, even knowing that is an international benchmark, so, or international standard. So that's the beauty of the world now. Everything is global, but you have always to also understand what happens in the local. And yeah, it's not an easy game, but it's a very challenging one. So it's very very interesting.
Well, the work you're doing to create transparency globally, set a benchmark for the entire world, enable companies who are international to standardize globally as well as locally, to learn and to assess themselves. I think one of the biggest trends in customer experience in 2024 will be the realization of international standards and certifications. Ladislau, I am so grateful to have met you in Dubai, to have spent so much time prior to this podcast learning about what you're doing, and to be part of it going forward into 2024. I'm very excited. As a teacher myself at the universities here in the United States, and being a CX, international CX adventurer, this to me is probably one of, if not the most important thing to pay attention to in 2024. So I just appreciate your time so
I
much
thank you.
today on the
Yeah, likewise.
podcast.
Okay, and there is just one last comment. I'm completely aligned with you. 2024, what happened now, the world that as we know it, it changed in the last couple of years. We have now different situations. We had a pandemic, we have inflation, we have wars, like we had peace for 80 years. Now we have two or three new, so that changes people's mood and people's life. And at the same time, you are bringing a lot of automation and a lot of AI that also scares people. So the way to keep things moving in our understanding is through standardization, is to, okay, there is a common ground that is solid, is about people, is about happiness, is about experience, and then we can work around it. We can work in the employee experience, we can work in IT, we can work in artificial intelligence, we can work in education, we can work wherever we want, but the standard is what makes people feel comfortable. Because what I feel now when I go around the world is people, they feel like, wow, now we have AI, but now the AI comes to help me. But at the same time, my people, they have their own challenges and their life change. Now they are working from home, and they now the cost of the renting or to pay the mortgage is higher. So people see their life being impacted all over the place. But at the end of the day, the experience has to exist. So you cannot, if a lot of things change around the individual and around the society, what cannot change is the way and the need for the customers. You always have customers, and you always have customers' expectations, and you always will have customer experience. So in a moment of the world changing, to have a standard in a way that keeps people giving people like the what are the benchmarks, what are the things that you should focus anywhere in the world, makes people's life easier and people more confident. And that's something that we should be aware of. Standardization in a moment of change is very important, because it allows people to find the solutions they want, but in a solid ground, you know.
You open my eyes again. In every trend, there are those who hop on the trend or not. And what I just heard you say, and this is a personal choice for me, if I have to hop on a single trend in 2024 with everything that's going on, happiness as the trend is the one that I want to be part of. So thank you for helping us bring continuity in a world of change, the standardization, all of the work you've been doing for all these years. I'm very excited for the 2024 update to the standards and the education that you're taking to the universities. Ladislau, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. It's just always an amazing opportunity when I get to speak with you.
Likewise, thank you so much for inviting me, and for every time we talk, there is, even if it is a podcast or in a coffee, having a coffee somewhere in the world, our we are always I always take more than I bring. So because it's is very rewarding to know someone like you and to exchange opinions and to discuss our points of view, bringing insights from all over the world. Thank you for your commitment with CX, and also for the way you are very open and very challenging always what is the status quo, but always with the focus in bringing happiness and a better life to everyone around us. That's the most important thing. And sometimes companies and people, they forget it, and we always should be very focused on the simple stuff that is make people happy. So at the end of the day, that's what we all want, is to be happier. Nobody's looking for troubles and willing to have problems in the life. We want to have happy lives. So let's do it. Let's help people to have happier lives.
All right.